Welcome to Arctic Game Talk. My name is Therese Mossberg and we have Johan Linder joining us from home. Hi Johan.
Hi.
Hi. So we're going to start with some local news. Uh, First of all, Arctic Game Talk is finally back, and now we'll be having these talks every second week instead. So next Wednesday we will have a game breakfast here at Campus Skellefteå, outside due to COVID, but still it will be great breakfast and some interesting guests coming. This weekend we have a back to school jam at Campus Skellefteå. It's an introductory approach to game design, so everybody is welcome regardless of previous experiences. The link to sign up will be in the chat later. Game jams in Piteå and Luleå is also coming up, so just have a look to see if more information will come. And every Thursday we gather at Navet in Luleå for some game and fika. You can participate on site in Luleå or on link to talk about games, exchange game ideas, develop experiences and inspiration. So everybody is welcome. So Johan, more news from you?
Yeah, we know the studios here are growing quite a lot. We have a lot of talent coming out of the schools, but we need to add more seniors. So we've been working on a support system for recruitment to get more seniors into the business. And that's a system that's coming up right now. So starting like the coming week, we will start working in that system to add more available seniors from all over the world to our network. And for those companies that are interested, we will help them finding the correct seniors. So if you're a company out there in the Arctic Game Lab region, please reach out to us if you need any seniors. We also should mention that the house we have at campus in Skellefteå are filling up really, really well. Recently, Mindforce Game Lab and Turborilla moved in, which means that we are now really full. So we are now in discussions with the landlord to get more space as soon as possible. We also did a visit to Stockholm last week, where we visited Forsberg's Academy and their game educations there, talking about the game industry in the north and the possibilities we have for learning in work, where they could actually be at a studio up here in the north. And all the students there were super excited, and we are now collecting all the information from them. And we will soon start the matchmaking process with the companies up here to see if you can get any LIA students from Stockholm. And their LIA period will start in January, so it's quite soon. All right, more local news, Therese.
Yeah, we have some news from Wonderworld. They are expanding now, are looking for 4 new positions. So it's community manager, producer, user acquisition manager, and senior system developer. Wonderworld is the market leader in interactive audio games using Alexa as platform. So if you want to know more about those positions, you can have the link in the chat later on. Tomorrow there is a lunch workshop about how you can find competence in a global arena. The event is primarily aiming for gaming and tech companies, organized by Svensk Näringsliv and Almega and Boden Business Park. You can participate on site at Boden Business Park or online. So that link will also be posted in the chat. We have some news from the Umeå studio Sordix. They are releasing the Ponpu November 5th. So we are now going to see their trailer. So great. We have another release also this month. Flattail will release their game Last Farewell on October 5th. It's a Skellefteå-based studio. So if you have any more news that you want us to share in this studio, so just send us an email to news@arcticgamelab.com. Now we have some more global news, Johan.
Yeah, most of you probably know that Epic Games and Apple don't really think the same way about Apple's store. And they just now chosen to forego a trial with a jury, and they are now looking for a jury trial. And this process is going to start soon, I think. So it's going to be tried by court and not by a jury. That's going to be interesting to follow. We also have Crazy Labs, which is an event or a possibility for those that develop hyper casual games. Crazy Labs offers developers access to their new Click dashboard where they can test their hyper casual games. And any games that passes their test will be rewarded up to $25,000. So it's a great opportunity. We were gonna post a link for that event as well in the chat. And this is an offer that is valid until November 5th. Some events coming up as well. We have the Sweden Game Conference, where we usually go and meet and hang out with all the cool people in that network in Skövde. That's going to be October 21st to 23rd, and this time it's going to be an online event. And they, of course, invite all the gaming industry professionals to join them. It's going to be matchmaking, there's going to be picture game, digital expo, and a lot more. And the tickets are free, so you can just join in for all the fun. That link will also be in the chat later. We also have a Games Week Berlin that's starting October 28th to October 30th. And it's going to be a lot of business partners, talent trends, game developers, and so on, and things to get inspired by. It's going to be a big core business-to-business event called QADIS, which we think you should look into. And of course, also a Womanize Games and Tech for the females in the games industry. There's a discount, 20% discount, if you use the code MeetToMatch _ProX20. We think you should do that. And the price tags is between 10 to 172 euros. The link for that will also be in the chat, and we will also post the discount code. Super, that's the event part. And now to the speaker for the day, Fedor van Herpen from MeetToMatch. Welcome.
Thanks, Johan. Thanks for having me here. Hi, everyone. It's really fitting, Johan, that you have a background of Bilbo's house or Frodo's house, because a lot of people who are trying to remember my name are saying something like, isn't your name from Lord of the Rings or so? And then I always need to explain, no, it's not. Luckily, like 2 weeks ago, I found out where my name is featured, and I found out it's actually in the book Dune from Frank Herbert. There's one mention of my name, no role at all, but yeah. But I find this very fitting. Yeah, so thanks for having me. For the people that don't know me yet, I'm one of the co-founders of MeetToMatch. We run a event service company, mainly aimed at connecting people at B2B game events. In a non-COVID world, we were present at about 25 game events around the world. Right now, in this COVID world, it's well, in the past 6 months, we ran about, I would say, 30 events or so, and a lot more coming up in the fall, amongst which the two you just mentioned. Thanks for promoting these, really kind. And I think today what I hope to cover with you all is to speak about the biggest opportunities and challenges of B2B networking in this COVID world. So if you have any if you have anything about my speak questions, about what I'm telling you, what I'm sharing, feel free to put it in the chat. I think that Johan every once in a while will pick 1 or 2 questions, and we can have a conversation on that. Yeah, so networking in a COVID world, it offers opportunities, it offers challenges, and I think that the biggest way, looking at it from a broader industry perspective, is that it offers equality for people around, more equality for people around the world, and that means that people who are in regions that have more distance to the European or the North American market or the Asian market don't need to travel anymore. So the investment part for joining a conference and having access to publishers, investors, and other business partners has become way easier for them to join. And that could be a challenge, as that means that you as a dev are competing with way more companies. Simultaneously, this is also an opportunity because also a lot more publishers and investors are joining online events from their comfortable homes. So yeah, for example, Sweden Game Conference that is coming up. I think we already have about, I would say, 20 to 25 publishers and investors, amongst with also big names. And I think the reason that they're joining is it's so easy for them to say, like, yes, I would like to meet up with everybody that is attending. So that's a good opportunity. Simultaneously, obviously, you run into time zone challenges, because if you want to meet that publisher from China at a virtual event, it may mean that you need to stand up real early, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., that kind of stuff. And on the other hand, they need to take meetings up until 11, 12, 1 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, that's going to be a puzzle sometimes. We try to solve these kind of things within our platform to make sure that you don't need to take all these calls at crazy hours, but at least take them at the times you find most convenient for yourself. Yeah, so if I would need to give you my advice, if you want to talk to publishers and investors and how to stand out in this current world situation, I think I would start by saying, try and research the events that are being held, and don't necessarily just look at the price of an access ticket to the event, but look at who is joining, who is interesting for you to meet, and is that one ticket already worth it for meeting that 1 or 2 people you would like to meet. Because if you look at it from the free event perspective that you can join for free, it also means you are competing with way more people that are fighting for the same attention. Similarly, look at small versus big events. For example, if you look at a Gamescom or a GDC, because so many people know that event, they will join. And so if you are joining as well, it might mean that a lot of more publishers and investors are actually also participating, but still you would be competing with way more companies. So it might make sense to look at the smaller ones. So look at the quality perspective instead of quantity perspective. And I can't say this this enough, and then even in a COVID world, it's more important. Join an event quickly. Don't wait until the last 1, 2, 3 days before the event because you really want to see who is there, or maybe you don't have time to prepare. The sooner you sign up, the earlier you have the opportunity to send a meeting request to a publisher or investor. And the more open their agenda is, the less picky they are in accepting those 1 or 2 first meeting requests, as opposed to closer to the event where they only have a couple of slots left because they will be fully booked anyway. They will be more picky. So your opportunities are actually way higher when you sign up early. What I can say, whenever you're joining an event, some tips and tricks, and I still feel the urge to share this with you because I see a lot of people doing otherwise. I see a lot of still a lot of people sending empty meeting requests, just it's the same as LinkedIn. I want to connect and don't even write why I would like to connect. And sometimes it's obvious because you know the person, especially on LinkedIn, but on these events it's very often not the case. But you have the opportunity to stand out there, like really research that one or two, that publisher that you want to speak with, and tell them something why you like their portfolio, why you think your game would fit into their portfolio. And then you have a real good conversation starter, and it makes it easier for the publisher to see fit for that one meeting request or not. And also don't forget, if you already have a pitch deck that's public, or a video or a trailer from your game, send a link along so they come well prepared and you don't need to stream a YouTube video link over a video connection like here on Zoom. But instead you can just point them towards like, hey, I shared with you the link, I can do that later on as well. Have you looked at it? What do you think? So you come well prepared. Another important practical stuff, and I did the same this morning with Johan and the team of RT Game Lab, is test your setup. Like whenever you're having these video conversations, make sure that it works, because still the most heard question in this video conversation is, can you hear me? They're about to tap the mic, like, can you hear me? Can you see my screen? That kind of stuff. It helps so much if you already have tested it out. For example, if there is an event that uses MeetToMatch, for example, we have a basic a video conferencing platform we're using. It's called 8x8. Very often people don't know it. And we offer people the opportunity in our communication, like, okay, this is the way of testing this with your colleagues, or and it's always good to run it through once or twice. Yeah, let's see. I think another good tip I would like to give to you is pick your most important target and or a couple, and make sure that you meet them on the last day, or not the first, but later on in the event process, and pick the ones that you still would like to meet out of networking purposes or a less good fit with your game, but pick them first. And the reason why I'm saying that is because then you have the opportunity to pitch your game, but not and really get the first feedback and become better in actually pitching it during a video conferencing session. So you're really up to speed for that important one with one of the big shots, or yeah. That immediately is a good bridge to another tip. Don't focus just on the big shots. We all know the big platforms, and everybody wants to have their game on, I don't know, Apple Arcade, or obviously on Xbox or Steam, etc. There are a lot of good indie publishers around that really focus on a specific niche, and the niche can be platform-based, but the niche can also be genre-based, hyper-casual, roguelike, etc. And imagine the opportunity they have for cross-promoting your game with players of their other games in their portfolio. So don't really focus on the big ones, but focus on the one that could potentially help you best. Yeah, and then try and focus on the event, because in this whole COVID world, at least what I'm experiencing, is that everything is blending into one another. Whether it's work and private, whether it's a pitch session, a Zoom session like here, and a team meeting just 50 minutes from now. But try and approach such events in a more similar physical way, like you would really attend. That makes sure that your mind is fully geared towards that event and the goals that you're trying to reach there. So try and block time slots in between those pitch meetings, and not take that team meeting if you can, because you can actually take a breath and reflect on what you just did, instead of going over and over again, because it won't help your pitch. Yeah, obviously also in this non-COVID world, what I've seen developers do really well is to pick those events where they would be going, whether it's Sweden Game Conferences, Games Week Berlin, GDC or whatever. Very often, as a developer, you focus on having a demo ready by then, or a pitch deck ready by then, or a vertical slice ready by then. Still try and do the same. Still try and work towards having something done. And if you tie that really into that first thing I started the conversation with, by researching the events you want to go to, you have like a certain rhythm in your year and in your development time, and also in your pitching process. I think that would really help. And the last one that I'd like to give along, although there are lots of events, and I'm giving you the advice to pick the ones that are most suited for you. Really use these events to stand out, and because if you already have the email address of that one person you want to speak to, don't forget you're ending up in that big pile of emails, whereas the publisher is also focusing on the events that he or she is going to. So use these opportunities to actually pinpoint a point in time where you're actually gonna speak, and use email or other channels to follow up and trying to get further in the process. And don't forget to, if they're not responding, to use the cross-channel approach. So whenever people are not responding over email, send them that LinkedIn connection if you're not connected yet. Or if you're already connected, poke them there, like, hey, I just sent you the pitch. Have you seen it 2 weeks ago? I can refloat it up back into your inbox. And you will see that their responsiveness will go up. So that's my flood of information, what I've been learning in the past 6 months or 7 months already of networking in COVID time.
Super. I have a lot of questions, and hopefully the viewers also have some questions. Just write them in the Q&A tool, but I will start asking some questions so far. I think, from my perspective, when we look at like digital events, we've attended some, but it always feels kind of like flat. You aren't as engaged as you would be in a physical event, and I feel that's a problem. And it's a shitload of events, which is also like a problem. Which one should we choose? How should we motivate ourselves to be a part of them? And it kind of ends up in not participating in anyone, which will be a problem, I think, because there's obviously a lot of opportunities. But I think that's like a struggle we're having with these post-COVID events. And we are looking now to host a digital event in the coming or be a part of a digital event in the coming half year, to actually rent some hotel rooms, go there, bring companies with us, and do the event for real, but from a city in the northern part of Sweden instead, and just do it for real. And I think that's probably the way we're going to motivate ourselves to be a part of it and do it for real. Do you have any thoughts like which event we should look for? What's coming up in the coming half year? What will be the big ones?
Going back to the first part where you started with is with the lots of events that are there, and you see a decline in motivation of actually partaking in such an event. I think that's part of a bigger challenge we're all facing, and that's the whole Zoom fatigue, not being able to connect in real life part. I don't have the full solution yet, but I would stick to what I said earlier, is look at the events that are there and try to research them. What is my current need? So am I in need of a publisher and investor that's more imminent, or do I want to see a specific person talking, and decide based on that? But don't try and be part of them all, at least not as a developer, because it also takes your mind away of the actual development process. So in that sense, maybe do it the way you did it pre-COVID, which I would assume is that you would pick 1 or 2 or 3 to go to, depending on the budget that you have and the size of your studio. And also look at the stages of where you're in. So when do you actually, how long is your runway still? So how much needed is the actual money flowing in from a publisher or investor, and plan accordingly. And the only thing you can do is really pump up yourself. You don't have any saying of how the other person responds, but you can at least be focused yourself. And that's why I said earlier in my talk, make sure that you really block out time instead of making an event part of that full day. And if you would do that for 10 events in 3 months, then it doesn't make sense, because then it blends into everything. But if you really focus on that 1 or 2, then it really does make sense and it will help. You said, what are the 1 or 2s that will be standing out in the coming time, in the coming half a year? Well, what we do see is that I can't even look at what is happening in the coming 6 months. I'm looking ahead 1, maybe 2 months. Maybe I'm looking ahead to start of December, because of a couple of reasons. One is everybody is still, as an event organizer, so most of our clients and our partners, everyone is doesn't know what is going to happen in the future. So they're still hoping, just like you said, to do something physically or something hybrid. But in 1 week from now, things can be completely different. So nobody is really planning ahead or announcing so far ahead. Simultaneously, whereas in a physical world, size did matter. Looking at a GDC or a Gamescom, there is a more leveling playing field right now. So I think that size doesn't matter anymore, but that you really need to see what event is focusing on your niche. For example, Sweden Game Conference is more focusing on the startups, the starting teams in the industry, whereas a Games Week Berlin in by nature, because it was normally being held in Berlin, is focusing more on mobile studios, whereas you see events popping up specifically from hyper-casual publishers. You gave the example of a campaign that was ran by Crazy Labs. Just pick that hyper-focused event for the thing that you need. I think that's the most important advice I can give.
Yeah. When you mentioned the GDC, and that's of course an interesting topic, what are your thoughts about GDC? Will it be an event, a physical event next year?
Well, my guess is just as good as anyone else. So, multiple perspectives. Yes, I potentially think there will be something physical there, but I simultaneously think that people also need to look at, and that's the same for the example that you just gave about the hotel rooms and doing something in the Arctic region physically. You also need to look at what is the travel appetite of people. Are they willing to travel? Are they allowed to travel? Are they currently in a restricted red area? I think winter period will learn us a lot. Hopefully we will be having something physically in June. Basically, what I would say about GDC is that I'm sincerely hoping something physically will happen and that I'm allowed and that it's safe for everyone to travel, because, oh man, I'm missing out on meeting people physically.
Yeah, that's my feeling as well from being in Stockholm last week. People are just socially starved. Any opportunity to like take a coffee or whatever, a dinner is accepted directly, and everyone is available. So everyone just want to meet and hang out, and doing like Zoom calls is not enough.
No. Although I'm liking this one.
Yeah. I see one question, but I'll continue in this topic since we're on it, because I think it's interesting also. I mean, there's so many digital events right now, and it's like people's gonna get tired of them. And I also think it might change the crowd of the events. Usually, just like you have this 1 or 2 or 3 big events you go to each year, and you bring a lot of different talent to the event. You bring some developers, you bring some parts from the business team, someone to pitch and so on, which means you're like a crowd there. But I think what we're seeing right now with all these digital events, it might change the crowd of who's actually participating in the events. You won't see the developers there probably. You'll see the ones pitching, and you'll see the investors. Do you have any like thoughts regarding this?
So your question is mainly about how will the world look like after this, or
more like, is the crowd of the events changing from being like more of the bigger part of the games industry? Do you see all the different talents in the games industry, or are the events right now mainly focused on just doing business?
I currently think that doing business is the most tangible part of a virtual event. So it gives you a more tangible return on investment perception when you need to buy tickets. What I was hoping for example, is that a lot of more developers from, I don't know, African regions would join, or Middle East regions would join, or also publishers. And I think I see the publishers doing that, but from the other regions, I actually do not see a real uptake there. Obviously, at least for paid conferences, there's still the difference in currency. So what is 50 euros or 500 Swedish crowns for us is like I don't know, half a month's salary for someone in Africa. So there's not much input there. I actually see a lot of things that are still similar to the physical event space. That is that you have a lot of companies more on the service provider part that are participating at any event, and then you see a lot of companies participating at the virtual event where they normally would go to when it was a physical event. I think Sweden Game Conference would be a good example, which probably is very accessible for you. Same for Nordic Game Conference. So yeah, but I also see a I don't know. There is a trend going up and down. There's so in the beginning of COVID in March, April, you saw a lot of people participate at events. Then there was a little dip. Then in summer, there was a little spike again. Now there's a little dip. But in October, for example, there are, I think last time I checked, about 30 game events in that entire month. So basically you could do one each day, one different one each day of the month. And that means that people will decide which one to participate in, but it will also scatter the landscape over those 30 events. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. But basically, I also feel that a lot of people are seeing this as just an in-between period. Like, we need to go through this, and then whenever it's over, we might even hope to get back to normal and pick up like we did before.
I think like things have changed so much now with all these digital events. And as I said before, I mean, you prepare for a couple of events and then you go to them. How do you think this will impact the conventional events, the physical events, when we actually get there? Will it be like less people, or will it be a big surge towards them because people are so starved?
Well, I think that for the event organizer that has a turnkey solution for starting up an event really post-COVID, when everything is done, like, I think a lot of people will head there just for the sake of being able to go to an event and have beers and get to parties. And I'm not sure actually a lot of business will be done there, but it's just for the sake of the industry of getting together. But I think that also would be just a temporary spike. It's hard to say. A lot of events organizers I'm speaking with say, like, yeah, really post-COVID, after COVID time will be a more hybrid setup of people going there and people digitally attending. I'm not so sure still about that. It's not because I don't think there will be change. However, I also see some challenges, because, for example, if you would have a business meeting with somebody who would physically attend, with somebody who would virtually attend, would you be willing to take a virtual call when you are present at a physical event? I think my guess would actually be no, because where would be a great place to take a quiet call and do a presentation at a physical event? So maybe that would mean that you would have a physical part on the first 2 days and then some virtual in the part in the days after. I don't know. There will be definitely a shake-up in the industry, because lots of events, as I said, it's a leveling playing field right now. A GDC or a Gamescom is not necessarily better anymore than smaller event. So, but yeah, it's looking in my crystal ball, and it's sometimes the crystal ball is a bit cloudy, like for everyone.
Well, let's talk more about that crystal ball. I'm just thinking, do you see any like physical events being planned? Where in time are we? Or are you hearing rumors from the industry, like where are they thinking the next physical event will be?
Yes, there are rumors for hybrid events coming up in November. I'm not gonna name names because it's up to them to decide and to announce what their plans are. But basically, what I think everyone would wait until the last moment, because next week a country can go in a lockdown. So people are looking forward to do it. And don't forget, there is also another side. It's about responsibility. So the event organizer obviously doesn't want to be responsible for any harm towards their visitors, but also the bigger companies. Microsoft or Facebook, for example, have announced that they will not partake at any event who is doing a physical part, just because they don't want to be associated with an event that potentially is gonna cause something negative. So that also plays a role in the whole decision part.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting times. I think I ran through most of my questions. We have one question from one of the viewers, and it's actually about if we know of any ethical focus game studios that actually makes money and high quality games, educational empathic focus. It's not really an event focused question from my side. I don't know of any studios that makes money out of it, but there of course are those that do it. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, what I really like about the question, it's hyper focused. Like I said earlier, try and find the things that are hyper focused. But no, by the top of my head, I can't answer this question right now as well.
I mean, I know there are a lot of games that are being developed for it, but it's always hard to combine. Like, you need to make money, you need to do it the best possible way, with also having like the ethical focus, which changes the way you develop the game, I think, and how you sell the game. And I would say that's also the problem with like gamification. You need to have a fun process. It needs to be fun from the beginning. You can't like add gamification just on top of things to make it more gamey and think that will make things fun. It needs to be fun on its own. So that's the main focus, I would say. If you do a good game and it's fun to play and it's also like high ethical focus, I mean that's good. Yeah.
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 Yeah, my personal humble opinion on this is that ethical part should be the narrative of your game. It shouldn't be the main core focus, but it should be the underlying thing that is fun to explore. Making sure that it's available for a target group that is big enough to actually make money out of it, and maybe to find again a publisher or investor who is strong in that part.
Yeah. Right, super. Do we have any more questions?
We have a question in the chat from Weihua. She's wondering about Nordic Game. Is it going to be any physical event? I know we talked about it already, but do you know if any part of it will be physical?
I can not confirm nor deny any rumors that are just like I said. That's up to the event organizers to decide. I would expect them to announce something shortly, but yeah, they're in planning modus right now. Planning mode.
Okay, so just have our eyes open and see what's going to happen. So anybody else have a question, please post it in the chat or in the Q&A section. Otherwise, Johan, do you have any more questions?
Well, not right now. I'm thinking of some, but I'll probably just post them to Fedor directly. But I think, I mean, what you're saying is quite interesting, and it's also like, if we look at an Arctic Game Lab perspective, our purpose is to support the games industry up here in the north, and it could be actually that we should have just one person attending digital meetings all the time, full time, just trying to support and pitch the companies up here and help them with all their needs. That could be a possible way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I think that's it. We don't have any more questions, I would say. So thank you for participating, Fedor.
Yeah, I would like to extend one invitation here. If you have any questions later and we're not connected, for example, on LinkedIn, feel free to send me an invite and reach out there for I don't know, more personal question or a more whatever you like. Happy to connect there, or send me an email on fedor@MeetToMatch.com. Happy to reply and help out whenever I can.
I think we have one last question coming in as well. We have one in the Q&A tool.
Ah, good.
Anonymous attendees says, so it's probably going to come just in a couple of minutes or moments. Hopefully. Otherwise, we'll close this session.
Yeah, I saw one Q&A coming up from somebody who Zeno, who personally liked to see some investors in person due to the chemistry. Yeah, I know what you're going through, and I know what you're feeling, and this definitely is a hard thing. I've been talking to investors who have been doing studio tours just to understand the studio and get to know all the people working there virtually. So I think there are ways to move around it, but yes, we're human beings, and human beings don't just necessarily need a language, but we also need body language and all the other thing to build trust. And yes, it's way easier to do it physically. So I think you would need to resort now to other things to make that connection, which is try and make a joke. No bad jokes, but no, but try to be human. But don't try to be too formal and too informative only. Try and talk about something memorable, something you encountered, or your private life, or whatever, to make it more personal. I think that is right now the way to go.
Yeah, we have the last question here. It's about if there are any game studios that focus on developing educational games. And I would say yes, there are, of course. There's a lot of studios developing educational games. So yeah, plenty to go around, I would say.
Yes, and I would say there quite a lot of them, at least from the countries that I know, are specifically focusing on this, but are less mingling with the entertainment studios. So it's like Johan said earlier. It's more about the gamification part. Very often they have companies that supply them with a assignment to create something for them for a specific purpose. So they have different kind of clients and funding sources. Obviously, as with everything, it's not for everyone similarly, but this is like, at least from what my knowledge, a very specific siloed niche right now. But there definitely are a lot around.
Right, super. I'll thank you for that answer. And do we have one on? Yeah, I think we're going to close this session now. So super. Thank you very much, Fedor, for participating. We'll stay in touch.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
We'll
it was a pleasure.
Again physically someday.
Yes, hopefully somewhere up north. I was about to try and pronounce the city that you were planning to do the Arctic event, but I'm not going to. But yes, I will hope to be there Sunday sometime.
Yeah, you're so much welcome.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much, and bye.
So thank you everybody for this Arctic Game Talk. We will be back in 2 weeks. So see you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.